Hello and welcome to the best football show. I am Brian Baldinger at Baldy NFL, Baldy's Breakdowns. Follow me all over all the social media platforms. I put a lot of content up there yesterday. You can find this daily podcast wherever you get your podcast, but you can download the Odyssey podcast for free and you can watch this. I'm glad you're joining me here. This is a day removed from the University of Miami's Pro Day, which was heavily attended by NFL scouts and agents and players, you name it, coaches, probably well over 200, maybe to 300 personnel type people from around the league. I was there yesterday from noon until 7. I went, introduced myself to Cam Ward sometime around noon, thinking he was probably going to throw pretty soon because he went out there and warmed up with his quarterback coach. He warmed up with him around 12:30 and just went through the script of what he had. And he told me he'd been working on this script of basically 60 passes. He said he'd basically been working on it since January. So 2 full months of working on the script. And he had his whole complement of receivers. Xavier Restrepo, Jacoby George, Jaylen Brown, Elijah Aurora. He had all his receivers. So he had his full complement of guys. But honestly, that wasn't even the story. The story was I introduced myself to Cam at noon. He didn't really start throwing until 5:30. Like it was all pushed back because the way these pro workouts work is the first thing that the scouts want are the measurements of all the players. And Miami had 19 players at their pro day. So, you're going Jalen Rivers, offensive lineman. You're going, Michelle Powell, safety. You're going Elijah Aurora, tight end. I mean, it's measurements, wingspan, arm length, height, weight. So you're doing 19 guys, and everybody's in the weight room watching. All right, and they're all recording the numbers. Okay, so you're getting official measurements. So that's part of it. But I went and watched Cam Ward when he had his initial warm-up. Right around 12:30, I posted some stuff on Twitter and on Instagram. Probably about a 45-minute just kind of warm-up. Like, no, wasn't throwing the ball, but just going through his steps with his quarterback coach, just rehearsing the script. So then, these pro days, then the guys all leave the weight room and they come out for for all the drills. So they're running the 40-yard dash. They're running the short shuttle, all right? They're running the 3-cone drill, and they're doing a vertical leap. So all those are being measured and tested, all right? So gobs of people are going to each section and watching, all right? I watched the long jump yesterday, broad jump. Guys were cheering each other on. They had a marker right at 10 feet. That's like the benchmark. Can you get past the white tape that's 10 feet? You're watching offensive linemen try to get to 10 feet. You're watching defensive linemen and outside linebackers trying to get there. But meanwhile, after Cam's initial warm-up, like literally, he's an amazing individual. He's got a great personality, easy smile, easy to talk to, really has your attention. But he basically went and just supported all of his teammates. He was at all drills. He was, high-fiving guys when they did something really well. He was mingling with a variety of coaches and personnel people throughout the league as they introduced themselves. I saw, there was a lot of, Kellen Moore was there yesterday from the New Orleans Saints. Brian Callahan from the Tennessee Titans and the whole staff of Tennessee. The general manager, they had guys from the Tennessean writers. They had 2 social media people following Cam around. So anyways, it was a very interesting and fun day. So I run into Cam a couple different times. Like he was watching his left tackle, Jalen Rivers, do some drills. I was talking to Jalen. He's a real nice kid. They got a bunch of offensive linemen in there right now that look to be really promising. So all the undergraduate kids were there. So I just asked Cam, come over, man. Like, how'd your left tackle do? Do you like him at guard or do you like him at tackle? Because he plays both. He goes, wherever he wants to line up, I know my backside's protected. He just has an easygoing style and way about him. So it comes to, and then, you have to talk about Mario Cristobal, his head coach, because Mario is a great coach. He was, he's from Miami himself. He coached at FIU, Florida International, the Panthers. He went and, put Oregon back on the map at Oregon, had some great teams out there, great individual players. And now he's at Miami. He's turned his program around. He told me 3 years ago when he came that they had one player that people came to see for his pro day. Yesterday, they had 19 players and like legit prospects. The running back is a legit prospect, the tight end, the left tackle. Like, they've got some elite players. The safety, I think, is a really good player. You can debate, and we'll get into Xavier Restrepo and some of the receivers and some of the things they did yesterday. We'll get to that. But really, it came down to, everybody's waiting around for Cam to throw. And initially, it was just a warm-up, just pat and goes, go routes, just getting himself warmed up. But I saw the script, and I was covering it for the NFL Network. So I was on the field yesterday with a microphone, and back in LA, we had our NFL Network team. So we had Rhett Lewis, who was anchoring it, along with Daniel Jeremiah, our draft analyst and former quarterback, and Bucky Brooks. So they were in the studios, and they were watching some of the throws. Then they would come to me on the field, and I was as close to Cam Ward as anybody out there. I was basically right behind him, watching him, getting the plays out from his quarterback coach. So it's interesting. The first throw was a slant, and then he threw a variety of 4 hitches. And when he throws a hitch route, it's like Derek Jeter turning a double play. I mean, he could just get the ball out sideways. The ball comes out pretty hot. And it was a variety. It was a hitch. It was an RPO. It was like these things where it's just point and shoot, and he gets the ball out. And then they kind of worked into the dig routes, the timing routes on the out routes from the far hash, where you really get to see him drive a ball. He really wanted to show yesterday his ability to take the ball from center and turn his back to the defense for play action type throws. He did a number of those yesterday. He did a couple of scramble drills, one to Restrepo, where he rolled out to his left, got chased, flushed, had a scramble drill set up, built into the route. Restrepo went from running a speed out to turning it and going vertical, and he hit him about 60 yards down the field in stride. They just dropped it right in the bucket. Beautiful throw. They eventually worked forward into the pro day, where it was like the high red zone, like from a 30-yard line in. Then they got to the red zone from the 20 all the way inside the 5, throwing fade routes, routes where receivers are going across the back of the letters in the end zone. You got to put it up high. So it was a lot built into it to show a variety of skills, show the arm strength. The one thing that's clear is he can really torque. Like, his ability, his lower body to torque and generate velocity on his throws is real. Like, you can see it. Now, not every ball was a tight spiral. Like, you watch Justin Herbert throw. I don't know if he knows how to throw a wobble. Not that it's the most important thing. Peyton Manning threw a ton of them in his career. But, so the ball does get a little loose on him sometimes, but it's a pretty good spiral. He doesn't have big hands. He doesn't have a big, strong set of mitts the way, say, Brett Favre does or Aaron Rodgers. He doesn't have that type of a grip. But, it's big enough. I don't know what he measured. 9 inches, 9.25 inches hand size. He did not run. Maybe he doesn't feel a need to, because he does extend plays very, very well. Throughout his days at Washington State, his days here at Miami this year. So a couple of things. One, and then the thing that was interesting to me was he missed a couple of throws. I mean, flat out missed a couple. So you're not going to be 60 for 60. He had 58 or 60 throws. But he calls it a reload. Like, he called it, no, let's reload it. I don't like it. So, you see him missing out, and maybe he sailed it on one of his receivers, George or Restrepo, whoever. And let's reload. Let's get back. Let's do it right. So the need to get it right is really important to this kid. And so I was talking to one of the receivers, Jaylen Brown, and he's got a good receiving core there at Miami. And, it was interesting because he said, Baldy, we do this every day. I go, what do you mean? He goes, we do this after practice every day. This is not, we're making a big deal on this being a script. He goes, this is what we do after practice. Like we work on all these different routes, all right? All the timing, zone, man, press man, 2 minute. Like we work on all these routes. And if the throw isn't right or the route isn't right, we reload it. It's one thing. Another thing, I thought this was interesting. They have a safety, Michelle Powell, okay, number 0. He came from Washington. Okay, so you think about it. 2023, he's the starting safety for the Washington Huskies. He's going against Michael Penix Jr. every day. All right, Atlanta Falcons took him with the 8th pick. And then he went against Cam Ward every day in practice this year. So I pulled him aside and I said, what's the difference? So he was telling me that the thing about Cam was from the day he got there, players just gravitated towards him. Like the amount of work, the amount of professionalism that he demanded was immediate. Guys followed. Like whether it was practice tempo or getting it right or staying after practice or extra meetings, like he changed the whole professional mentality of the entire team. Mario Cristobal backed that up. He said Michael Penix was very similar, but he did it in a way where he was very understated. He wasn't very vocal. He wanted people to know that Michael Penix can flat out run, that he's a much better athlete than anybody saw at Washington because he didn't have to be. But, if you remember, Michael Penix, when he ran in his pro day, he ran the 4.4s. And he told me that he would run in the 4.4s. I don't know if Cam Ward can run in a 4.4. But when you watch him, there's a part of me that I'm reminded of a little bit of Jalen Hurts, a little bit of Baker Mayfield, a little bit of C.J. Stroud. From a height, build standpoint, he's very solid. He's 217 pounds. We put his height and weight up on a TV screen when we interviewed him, me and Cam Wolf from the NFL Network. We interviewed him for 7 or 8 minutes. He was fantastic. And we'll get to that in a second. But on the screen, it said 6'1" and 5'8", 217 pounds. And he goes, hey, I'm 6'2". I'm not. So the 3/8 of an inch bothered him. And it would bother me too. I think he's every bit of 6'2", and he's 217, 220. So he got that. So he's solid. The thing that was interesting was, and Cam Wolf picked up on this, there was a play down the field during his throwing session. And there was Brian Callahan and his general manager standing right there. And he said out loud to him, did that solidify me? Did that throw solidify me to be your pick? And they just laughed. But it was kind of a bold statement during, just the awareness that he knew where Tennessee was and their guys watching the thing. The throw that he made down the field, I think it was to Aurora. But regardless, he said that. And then he in the interview with us, he just wanted to let them know, I want to be the number 1 pick. And if you want me as your number 1 pick, I'm ready to come to Tennessee and, begin my career. So I thought that was really interesting. And then just watching him work throughout the day was really just mingle effortlessly through coaches, personnel, people coming up to him. I saw Alonzo Highsmith from the New England Patriots go up and introduce himself, just very easy going. He looks at you like he's not a faucet where he just turns it on. Let's just get to a couple things, other players. Elijah Roro did not run. He's had injuries, but he had a great season. He was at the Senior Bowl. He was a great route runner. He ran great routes yesterday. But he measured 6'5", which means 6'5" and 0.2 of an inch. And he weighed 252. But he is he's had injuries first couple of years, but he really turned it on this year. I think he probably runs in the 4.6s, maybe the low 4.7s. Reminds me of a Sam Laporta type. Like he's a good route runner. And then, Xavier Restrepo is a guy that everybody talked about. I saw him run both 40-yard dashes yesterday. One was a 4.78. I think the other was a 4.82. He went from basically being maybe a day 3 pick to maybe not getting drafted. I will say this, though. In the short shuttle, he ran a 4.21. Now, Drew Rosenhaus is his agent. Okay, now Drew knows how to promote, represent. Drew's a pro. All right, he's got Abdul Carter. He's got a lot of guys in his draft. But he's got Restrepo. His family was there. And I'm sure he's disappointed because he doesn't burst. He doesn't have a real burst. But if you run a 4.21 short shuttle, like that's pretty elite. So he's strictly a slot receiver. Different, Lad McConkey ran really good at Georgia last year. He could play inside and outside, and he ended up proving it with the Chargers this year. Restrepo is not Lad McConkey, but he is thick. He's very strong. He catches everything. I think there's a place for him. I don't know if he's going to get drafted with that 40 time, but he's strictly a slot receiver. That's where he's going to get his work done. So it's just, look, he didn't run well at combine. He thought he would run well here. I think his 40 time is what he probably shouldn't have run, to be honest with you. Probably should have just stuck with his 40 time at the combine and maybe run the short shuttle. But regardless, he's going to get a chance at the next level to prove himself. So they're going to give him a chance, whether he does get drafted day 3 or not. He had 200 catches. You can't deny his production, at Miami. And he got behind a lot of defenses. So we've seen a lot of good players run not very fast 40 times. Wes Welker, Jerry Rice, going to have, great careers. So, and one of those guys being a GOAT. So that's been the Best Football Show. Thanks for joining me. I'm going to Penn State on Friday. We'll take a look at Ty Warren, and we'll take a look at Abdul Carter. We'll talk to James Franklin. We're doing a lot of interviews, watching their pro days start at 7 in the morning on Friday in State College. So I'll be up early, and I look forward to bringing you that report. And if anything breaks this week, whether it's Aaron Rodgers or whoever, we'll be back here to talk about it only on the Best Football Show. Thanks for joining me, everybody.